What's going on, friends? Welcome back to College Sports Corner. Hope you're having a great weekend. Unfortunately, only got a few hours left and back to work tomorrow, which sucks, I know. But hey, yesterday, had some pretty good games. Had some crazy things happen, some bad things happen, especially if your team lost. Let's go over all that. We got some news items to get to. We're going to go over these games yesterday, and then we'll get on with the rest of our weekend. Uh, Before we do, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss anything. Tell your friends, tell your coworkers it's something to listen to while they're at work and they don't want to work. They can have this on in the background. All right, so let's get to it. Got some news here. Week three review. Uh, Nebraska, sometime yesterday, I don't know if it was during the game, before the game, after the game, contacted Urban Meyer, looking for that new head coach. They're looking at Urban Meyer. Interim coach Mickey Joseph said, "This loss is on me." Yeah, but we'll go over that game. Nebraska played lights out about the first quarter, and it looked like they were going to make a game of it. It looked like they were sparked, renewed. They got all this Scott Frost stuff behind them. Then they just fell apart. I don't know. I guess Oklahoma finally got tired of screwing around and turned it on. But anyway, yeah, he says loss is on me, which yeah it is, but some of the plays just weren't very good. Bobby Petrino, remember him? He used to coach at Arkansas, got in a wreck on his motorcycle with his mistress on the back. He returned them to Arkansas yesterday with his Missouri State Bears to play the Razorbacks. But actually, they gave Arkansas quite a game. There were times in that game you were wondering if they were going to pull it off and beat Arkansas. No word on any taunting from the fans, though I did see on, so I forget where it was, somewhere online, that a lot of fans are going to be wearing neck braces and have red makeup on their face. If you don't know what I'm talking about, go back and look at somewhere online. You can find it. Bobby Petrino's press conference at Arkansas several years ago after he wrecked his motorcycle with his girlfriend on back. I'm sure fans did it. I mean, college fans are crazy. We'll do stuff like that. Houston. First two games going to overtime. Win one, lose one. Well, Kansas came to town yesterday, beat up on Houston, and two Houston wide receivers got in a fight on the sidelines over frustration and everything. Joseph Manjack and Sam Brown got into it, pushing and shoving. Team and coaches broke it up, and a few minutes later, they were apologizing and hugging. Sucks that happened, but frustrations when things just aren't going your way. Sometimes you take it out on the wrong people at the wrong time. I mean, we've all done it. So they're all good now. Dana Holgorsen says there's no excuse for that. Shouldn't have happened. They both feel bad about it. Unfortunately, had some injuries yesterday. Fresno State quarterback Jake Haener carted off the field last night with a high ankle sprain. Coach Tedford doesn't think it's season ending. Texas Tech linebacker Bryce Ramirez, however, he was taken off the field on a cart with a serious leg injury. His leg below the knee was twisted in a weird way. That probably is going to be season ending. You hope not, but man, that injury just looked bad. And then Michigan backup quarterback Cade McNamara will be out a few weeks. He had a leg injury sustained last night, late in the first half of that game. Coach Harbaugh says it's probably not season ending, but he's going to be out a few weeks. But get well, guys, man. Hope y'all can all come back from it. We pray for your healing. Okay, let's get started on no games Thursday night. I think there's an FCS game Thursday night, but I'm not sure. Once again, why there wasn't a Thursday night game, I can understand. Well, I can't really understand the first week of NFL. I mean, screw it. Put a college game that night. Because there's people like me who will watch the college game and not the NFL game. Why there wasn't one this past Thursday, I have no clue. If college is bowing down to the NFL, they need to stop that crap. College has been around a lot longer. So there was Friday night games. Florida State and Louisville. Florida State won 35-31. Travis, 13 for 17, 157 yards, 2 touchdowns and an interception. Ward rushed for 126 yards. Wilson had 7 catches, 149 yards, 2 touchdowns. Travis did sustain a lower leg injury in the second quarter. Rodemaker came in and went 6 for 10, 109 yards, 2 touchdowns, and an interception. Haven't heard anything about Travis's injury. Hopefully, he'll just be out a little while if he is out at all. Louisville's Cunningham went 21 for 34, 243 yards and a touchdown. He also ran for 127 yards and 2 touchdowns. But Florida State wins by 4. This one here, I have a feeling it was going to be a pretty good game, and it was. Wyoming 17, Air Force 14. Very good defensive game. Both defenses played great. Wyoming's Peasley was 18 for 23, 162 yards, touchdown and interception. Sween ran for 102 yards and a touchdown on 19 rushes. Welch had a 14-yard TD catch. Wyoming, excellent defense. They shut down the Air Force run game the Air Force is so famous for. Great punting, too. They buried Air Force back within the 10 a couple times that Friday night. Really good punting. For Air Force, Daniels, 7 for 14, 101 yards, 2 touchdowns. Eldridge ran for 104 yards. Harris had 45 receiving yards, 2 catches and a touchdown. Cormier had a 9-yard touchdown catch for the Falcons. They had success moving the ball through the air, more so than on the ground. They did run it better in the second half, though, against the Wyoming defense, but still came up 3 points short and lost. Wyoming was your winner. Okay, let's see here. Let's start off on yesterday. Virginia Tech beat Wofford 27-7. Wells for Virginia Tech, 314 passing yards and 2 touchdowns. Missouri beat Abilene Christian 34-17. Cook, 294 passing yards, 3 touchdowns in this one. Lovett had 7 catches for 132 yards and 2 touchdowns. Asked my sister's boyfriend who went to Missouri, hey, man, y'all won. Congratulations. He goes, yeah, but the team we played, a high school team, could beat them. So he was happy, but he wasn't so happy. Miami of Ohio lost to Cincinnati, 38-17. Cincinnati Bearcats Bryant threw 330 yards, 2 touchdowns. McClellan ran for 101 yards on 19 rushes for 2 touchdowns. Scott, 8 catches for 119 yards and a touchdown. Miami of Ohio side, Smith threw for 117 yards and 2 touchdowns. This game was kind of close. It was at one time 24-17. It was just a touchdown difference at halftime. Cincinnati finally, I guess you could say, Scott stopped screwing around and came back and won that game. Kent State over Long Island, 63-10. Ooh, man. Shealy for Kent State threw two touchdown passes. Cooper had 2 rushing touchdowns. Walker had a 50-yard touchdown catch for Kent State. Army beat Villanova 49-10. Riley for the Black Knights, 21 attempts, 158 rushing yards, and a touchdown on that one. And this one I thought was going to be a good game. Like we said, Nebraska got all that Scott Frost stuff behind them. I figured Nebraska was going to come out. They came out of the tunnel. The crowd was on fire. I think the whole crowd felt it was going to be a good game too. And it actually was a good game for about the first quarter, maybe quarter and a half. And, because they look good. Nebraska did look good. They had some good drives. But, man, they just kind of slowed down, fell apart. Oklahoma jumped all over them. Anyway, Oklahoma ends up winning 49-14. Like we said, Nebraska looked good in that first quarter. It was just downhill from there. OU did start off sluggish on offense, but they finally got it cleaned up. Gabriel for the Sooners, 230 passing yards, 2 touchdowns. Gray rushed for 113 yards on 11 carries for 2 touchdowns. Cornhuskers Thompson, wasn't all that bad, 129 passing yards and 1 touchdown. So Nebraska, the woes continue, and they have contacted Urban Meyer, as we said earlier. See if he decides to come back to coaching or not. I have a feeling he probably will come back to coaching. That guy just can't sit still. I mean, he's got to be out there doing something. Okay. Hey, this was a pretty interesting game here. Syracuse beats Purdue 32-19. Um, this was a slow game until the fourth quarter. You could say it was probably pretty much a baseball game. I got some things here. Uh, First quarter, Purdue won the first quarter 6-3. Second quarter, Purdue kicked a field goal. Syracuse didn't do anything. Third quarter, Syracuse scored a touchdown. Purdue didn't do anything. And then the fourth quarter comes. Syracuse scores 22 points in the fourth quarter. Purdue scores 20 in the fourth quarter. It's like they napped through three quarters, and the fourth quarter came. And they all woke up and started playing. And the fourth quarter was pretty damn exciting if you saw that game. Boilermakers O'Connell, 424 passing yards and three touchdowns. Jones had 11 catches for 188 yards and a touchdown. For Syracuse, Schrader, 181 passing yards and three touchdowns. And then Gladson, the second, 6 catches for 112 yards and two touchdowns. Yeah, pretty exciting game there towards the end. Northwestern, boy, they just can't seem to get it together. Beat Nebraska that first game, and then the next games are just bleh. Southern Illinois beats them at home in Evanston, 31-24. Northwestern had a bad passing game, but they had a pretty good running game. Hull, he ran the ball pretty good. Horrible O-line, just couldn't get any protection. 4 turnovers the Wildcats had in this one. Southern Illinois, they had a great passing game. They are very confident both sides of the ball. They looked like they weren't scared to move the ball. They weren't scared to stop the ball from moving on the other side. I mean, played a great game. Salukis, Baker, 241 passing yards, 3 touchdowns. On the other side, Helinski had 213 passing yards and a touchdown. Hull ran for 124 yards on 25 carries for 1 touchdown for Northwestern. So Northwestern falls to 1-2 after that big win in week 0, they call it, over Nebraska there in Ireland. Baylor, they bounced back from that overtime loss to BYU, beat Texas State 42-7. Shapen for Baylor, 184 passing yards and a touchdown. Reese ran for 157 yards on 19 carries, 3 rushing touchdowns for him. Wasn't all bad for Texas State. Hatcher threw for 186 yards and a touchdown. Hawkins had 13 catches for 114 yards and a touchdown. Baylor beats Texas State. And we just talked a little while ago about McNamara getting hurt in this game. Michigan 59, UConn 0. UConn, what are we going to do with you? What are we going to do with you, boys? McCarthy for Michigan, 15 for 18, 214 yards. Corum, get this, Corum, 71 rushing yards on 12 carries for 5 touchdowns. Tell me he wasn't the hero of the keg parties last night. And for Michigan, Henning had a 61-yard punt return for a touchdown. Michigan 3-0, UConn falls to 1-3. The way it looks, UConn won their 1 game for the season. So, I don't know. We'll see what happens with them. Number 1, Georgia Bulldogs, 48. South Carolina, 7. Stetson Bennett, 284 passing yards, 2 touchdowns. Bowers, 5 catches for 121 yards and 2 touchdowns. On the South Carolina side of the ball, Spencer Rattler threw for 118 yards. And South Carolina didn't score until the 4th quarter. And it sucks for them because they played at home. I mean, they had the crowd behind them and everything. But Wild one in Indiana. Indiana got a scare, but they win it in overtime over Western Kentucky, 33-30. Connor Basilick was 33 for 55, 364 passing yards, 2 touchdowns for Indiana. On the other side for the Hilltoppers, Reed threw for 339 yards and 2 touchdowns. I didn't watch this game. I was watching another game. I kept seeing the highlights. I was like, man, Indiana might lose this game at home. I knew they would have trouble because Western Kentucky's a good team. I mean, they move the ball well, both sides running and passing. They're a good team, but Indiana survives. Kentucky, no problem with Youngstown State. They win 31-0. Levis for Kentucky, 27 for 35, 377 yards, 2 touchdowns. Pretty good day for him. Central Michigan, they also didn't have a problem. They beat Bucknell 41-0. Richardson's for the Chippewas, 15 for 32, 198 passing yards, and 2 touchdowns in that one. What we got here? Oh, Nichols the third for Central Michigan. 30 rushes, 166 yards, 2 touchdowns. So good day for him too. Coastal Carolina, 38. Buffalo, 26. Still can't say their nickname. Coastal Carolina's Chanticleers. I don't know. I just call them Coastal Carolina. McCall was 16 for 24, 251 passing yards, 3 touchdowns. Beasley had 9 rushes, 89 yards, and a touchdown. And he also had a 59-yard touchdown catch. For Buffalo, Snyder was 29 for 48, 264 yards, and 2 touchdowns. West Virginia bounces back after losing to Kansas. They beat Towson 65-7, and they were actually leading Towson 45-7 at halftime. Daniels for the Mountaineers, 16 for 24, 174 yards and a touchdown. West Virginia's 1-2. That's crazy, isn't it? You figure it'd be the other way around, 2-1, but yeah, they were 1-2 this year. Ball State beat Murray State 31-0. Paddock for Ball State, 217 passing yards, 3 touchdowns. Steele ran for 151 yards on 25 carries and a touchdown. So Ball State beats Murray State. Virginia escapes and beats Old Dominion by 2. They win 16-14. And if I remember right, Old Dominion is one that beat Virginia Tech last week or the week before. So Old Dominion is a strong team. They just came up short today. Armstrong for Virginia, 284 passing yards. Wolf for Old Dominion, 235 passing yards and 2 touchdowns. So Wolf might be a reason for their success. Iowa State beat Ohio 43-10. That's 2 losses in a row for Ohio, losing to Penn State last week. Deckers for the Cyclones, 28 for 36, 286 yards, 3 touchdowns for him. Pretty good game. On the other side, Rourke for Ohio, he didn't have too bad of a game. 194 passing yards and a touchdown. So they just came up 33 points short. That's all. Rutgers beats Temple 16-14. Rutgers is 3-0 now. They should be starting Big Ten play pretty soon. But Temple's Owls, Warner passed for 215 yards and a touchdown, where Simon for the Rutgers only passed for 52 yards. And their leading rusher had 79 yards. So kind of crazy how things work out. UCLA 32, South Alabama 31, right there in the Rose Bowl. And I don't know if it was because fans thought it was an inferior team they were playing, or people in LA and their area just don't care about UCLA, but it's like half the Rose Bowl was empty, maybe even more than half. It was crazy. But for UCLA, Thompson Robinson, 21 for 31, 266 passing yards, 3 touchdowns. Pretty good day for him. UCLA wins by 1. Notre Dame has won a game. They beat Cal 24-17, although it looked like Cal might steal one there in South Bend and send Notre Dame into 0-3 or 0-4, whatever they would have been. But Notre Dame wins. They pull it out. They get it. Pine for Fighting Irish, 150 yards, 2 touchdowns. Plummer for Cal, he didn't do too bad, 184 passing yards and a touchdown. Estime had a rushing touchdown, and Tyree had a receiving touchdown for Fighting Irish, so they get in that win column finally. UNLV 58, North Texas 27. Ayun from North Texas, I don't know how to say his name. 305 passing yards and 2 touchdowns, not too bad. On the other side, Brumfield for UNLV, 211 passing yards and 2 touchdowns. And then Robbins, 19 rushes, 227 yards and 3 touchdowns. So pretty damn good game. Tulane is 3-0. They go to Manhattan, Kansas, and beat Kansas State 17-10. Look at Tulane go. Pratt for Tulane, 176 passing yards and a touchdown. Martinez, not too bad for Kansas State, 150 passing yards and a touchdown. But Tulane, look at them, 3-0. Good for them. Okay, Oregon 41, BYU 20. I actually thought, I'll admit when I'm wrong. There's several times Saturday I was wrong. I really thought BYU was going to win this game. To me, they just seemed like a better team than Oregon. I was wrong. I admit it. I was wrong. Bo Nix threw 2 touchdown passes and ran for 3 touchdowns. Also, he was 13 for 18, 222 passing yards and 2 touchdowns. And like I said, he also ran for 3 touchdowns. But on the other side of the ball, Hall for BYU, 305 passing yards and 2 touchdowns. So not too bad for him. 24-7 at halftime. Oregon was winning. And by that time, I said, I don't think BYU is going to win this game. I think I totally misjudged them. And they didn't. Minnesota all over Colorado 49-7. Colorado didn't score their touchdown until the 4th quarter in this one. Morgan for the Golden Gophers, 11 for 16, 157 passing yards, 3 touchdowns. Abraham, 23 rushes, 202 yards, and 3 touchdowns. Passing and running game yesterday, excellent for Minnesota. They are now 3-0. And then Colorado is 0-3. Some of you youngsters may not remember this, but Colorado used to be a pretty damn good football team back in the Big 8 and then the Big 12 days. And man, they've just fallen off the rocker the last several years. I don't know what's happened to them. UAB beats Georgia Southern 35-21. Blazers Hopkins, 125 passing yards, 1 touchdown. McBride for UAB, 223 rushing yards on 28 carries, 4 rushing touchdowns. Hell of a game for him. On the other side, Van Treese for Georgia Southern, 204 passing yards and a touchdown. Ole Miss goes into Atlanta and just wallops Georgia Tech 42-0. Man. Dart, he was 10 for 16, 207 passing yards. Evans rushed for 134 yards on 18 carries for 2 touchdowns. Sims for Georgia Tech, he did throw for 161 yards, so it wasn't all bad. Bentley and Judkins for Ole Miss, they also had 2 rushing touchdowns. So Ole Miss, man, they just went in there and embarrassed Georgia Tech at home, but it happens. Wisconsin bounces back from that disappointing loss to Washington State and beats New Mexico State 66-7. This game was 35-0 at halftime. New Mexico State, boy, they just haven't been a good football team the last several years, and they didn't score their touchdown. This was the theme. Every week we got a theme. This seems to be the theme of this past Saturday. Teams that only scored a touchdown or less didn't do it until the 4th quarter. Again, I don't know if it's mercy from the other team saying, man, let them score. Or the other team just got tired, not trying anymore. But yeah, it seemed to be the theme for Saturday. If you got your ass whipped, you didn't score your points until the 4th quarter. Mertz for the Badgers, 251 yards, 3 touchdowns. Allen rushed for 86 yards on 15 carries for 3 touchdowns. And Bell, 4 catches, 108 yards, 2 touchdowns, all for the Badgers. New Mexico State 0-4. Wisconsin 2-1. All right, so this one here. Another one I thought was going to turn out different than it did. It did not. although it looked like it might. Penn State 41, Auburn 12. This game was 14-6 at halftime. Auburn played great in the first half. I mean, they really did. They had the crowd behind them. They were jacked up. They were playing good. Penn State kind of played kind of sluggish. I mean, they scored 14 in the first half, but they did kind of play kind of sluggish. But the second half, I guess they got yelled at in the locker room at halftime, and they came back and really put it on the second half. They scored 17 points in the third quarter and then 10 points in the fourth quarter. Clifford, guy was pretty good yesterday. Clifford for Penn State, 178 passing yards. Now, he took a hell of a hit, too. He didn't slide. He didn't dive or nothing. He was upright, and one of the Auburn defenders came and just whacked the hell out of him. You may have seen it. I was like, oh, man. Is he okay? Is he out of the game? Man, he got right back up and kept playing. That guy's tough. Singleton, 124 yards rushing, 10 attempts, 2 touchdowns. Singleton and Cratron for Penn State combined for 176 rushing yards and 4 touchdowns in that game yesterday. Tigers Finley, he threw for 152 yards. If I remember, I think he was yanked and the backup was put in. I don't quite remember that, but something tells me that that's what happened. UMass beat Stony Brook 20-3. Appalachian State and Troy with the crazy one. I think game day was there. Appalachian State pulls it out. Appalachian State's Bryce, 22 for 34, 279 yards, 2 touchdowns. Horn, 5 catches for 98 yards, including the 53-yard TD catch on the final play to win the game. On the other side, Watson for Troy, he had 298 passing yards. Troy is 1-2. Appalachian State is 2-1. There's a time Troy was considered like Appalachian State. They could beat some very good teams and without you expecting it. So they've kind of fallen off a little bit. Vanderbilt back on the winning track. 38-28 over Northern Illinois. Swain, 255 passing yards, 4 touchdowns in this game. Shepard, 10 catches for 171 yards and 2 touchdowns. On the other side, Northern Illinois' Hampton threw for 124 yards and 2 touchdowns. Tucker, 4 catches for 88 yards and 2 touchdowns. Vanderbilt, 3-1. I'm not saying they're going to win the SEC. They're probably not even going to win the East. But the way they play, they could surprise a couple teams that they should lose to and beat them. So keep an eye on Vanderbilt. They're going to be interesting this year. We mentioned this a little earlier because the fight on the sideline. Kansas goes to Houston, beats them 48-30. Daniels for Jayhawks, 14 for 23, 158 yards, 3 touchdowns. And he also ran for 123 yards and 2 touchdowns. Houston's Toon threw for 272 yards and a touchdown. And Henry had 5 catches, 107 yards and a touchdown. Kansas starting off this season 3-0. Them, just like Vandy, I don't think they're going to win the conference. But the way they're playing, they could surprise a couple teams and beat a couple teams that they're supposed to lose to, just like Vandy. So Vanderbilt and Kansas, keep an eye on them. See what happens. Alabama avenges their loss from 2007 and beats Monroe 63-7. Nick Saban said, "Not this time." Bryce Young, 236 passing yards, 3 touchdowns. Williams, he only rushed for 58 yards and a touchdown. For Bama, Anderson had a pick 6. Moore had a scoop-up block kick for a touchdown. And Branch had a 68-yard punt return for a touchdown. So Bama really opened it up on poor La Monroe. Bama was winning 35-7 at the half. And, the first time they played them, Saban's first year back in 2007, and La Monroe came into Tuscaloosa and beat Alabama. But Nick Saban said, "Not this time." Boise State 30, UT Martin 7. Bachmeyer for Boise, 204 yards and 2 touchdowns. Washington State continuing their winning ways, beat Colorado State 38-7. Ward for the Cougars, 292 passing yards, 4 touchdowns. Ollie had 8 catches for 82 yards and 2 touchdowns on that one. Wake Forest, they were cleaning the crap out of their underwear last night because they beat Liberty 37-36. Hartman was 26 for 44, 325 passing yards and 3 touchdowns. He had a great game. I didn't see it, but looking at these numbers, I'm guessing the Wake Forest defense maybe didn't take Liberty that seriously, or Liberty's just that good because we know they've been good for the last few years. So maybe they're just better than the Wake Forest defense. Like I said, I didn't see the game. But Salter, right? Salter, yeah. For Liberty, 258 passing yards and 2 touchdowns. Douglas had 7 catches for 124 yards and 2 touchdowns. Wake Forest Banks, he caught 2 touchdown passes also. So Wake Forest, wins by 1. Cleans out their drawers in the locker room and breathes a sigh of relief. Bowling Green beat Marshall 34-31. Falcons McDonald threw for 282 yards and 4 touchdowns in this one. Hillary, 79 receiving yards, 4 catches, 2 touchdowns. Pretty good game for him, too. On the other side, Marshall's Columbi, 324 passing yards and 2 touchdowns. And then Gamage, 100 receiving yards, 7 catches, and a touchdown. Bowling Green wins that one. Eastern Carolina beat Campbell, 49-10. East Carolina Ahlers, 17 for 20, 263 yards and 3 touchdowns. Pretty good game for him. If you were an LSU fan, once again, they are giving you a heart attack. I know. My wife was sitting in the recliner next to me, cussing and getting pissed off. So, yeah. Cardiac Cats are back at it again this year, but they beat Mississippi State 31-16. Daniels, 22 for 37, 210 yards, 1 touchdown. He also rushed for 100 yards and 2 touchdowns. Not all his fault, but there, especially towards the latter part of the game, he missed a lot of throws. Like I said, a couple of them were on the receivers, but also a lot of those passes were behind the receivers. It got to the point where I was just saying, don't let this guy throw, just let him run. I mean, that's how bad it was getting. But maybe LSU needs to put a tire up in the backyard and just let him throw through it all next week. I don't know. But hey, they got it done anyway. Bulldogs, Will Rogers, 214 passing yards and a touchdown. LSU played great defense. I mean, they really did. They pass rush on Rogers was pretty good all night. Got in his face a lot. Offense got off to a sluggish start. They only scored 7 in the first half, and then they came back and scored 24 in the second half. And 21 of those points were in the fourth quarter when they really, really needed it. Mistakes and turnovers kind of hurt Mississippi State. But they still played a good game, but just couldn't pull it off. It's only going to get tougher for LSU. I think we all know the SEC conference. They're really going to have to start off games on fire and keep it going, especially against some of these teams they got coming up in conference. So we'll see if Kelly can get them to do that. Duke is 3-0. They beat North Carolina A&T 49-20. Leonard for the Blue Devils, 11 for 12, 155 yards, 2 touchdowns. And he also ran for 66 yards and 2 touchdowns. So, way to go, Duke. Congratulations, man. 3-0. That's not too bad. Tennessee, poor Akron. Tennessee beat Akron 63-6. Hendon Hooker, 14 for 18, 298 yards, 2 touchdowns. Hyatt, 166 receiving yards, 5 catches, 2 touchdowns. Those were 57-yard and 48-yard touchdown catches for him. Zips, Irons, he threw for 241 yards. Kind of staying with the theme of yesterday, Akron didn't score until the third quarter. They scored a field goal. In the fourth quarter, they got their other field goal. They got their 6 points. I forget who it was. It was on the SEC Nation yesterday morning. One of them was saying Hendon Hooker looks like a Heisman candidate. We'll see as the games get harder. I'm impressed with him. I like him. I think he's a good quarterback. Heisman, like I said, we'll have to see here in the next month or so. Because I think they got Florida next week, which is not the Florida team we're used to seeing, but it's still Florida. It's still pretty much a rivalry there. Memphis beat Arkansas State 44-32. Hennigan for the Tigers was 19 for 28, 360 yards and 3 touchdowns. Blackman for Arkansas State, 275 passing yards and 2 touchdowns. Sneed ran for 66 yards and 2 touchdowns. And Traore, 6 catches for 120 yards and 1 touchdown for Arkansas State. Memphis Prieskorn, he had 2 touchdown catches for Memphis. Moving right along, Oklahoma State, 63. Arkansas Pine Bluff, 7. Spencer Sanders, can't even say his name, 13 for 16, 242 passing yards, 4 touchdowns. Gordon rushed for 65 yards and a touchdown. Johnson, 4 catches, 86 yards, 2 touchdowns. Oklahoma State's Ford had a 36-yard TD off a block punt. And let's see what else. Black had a TD off a block field goal. So special teams and offense really got it done for Oklahoma State. Charlotte 42, Georgia State 41. Damn. Charlotte Reynolds, 401 passing yards, 5 touchdowns for him. Hell of a game. Granger for Georgia State, he threw for 343 yards and 4 touchdowns. So pretty damn good game for him. Georgia State's Greg ran for 100 yards on 23 carries, 2 touchdowns. And then Thrash, 213 receiving yards on 10 catches. They had a touchdown. Some offense in that game, and the defense, looked like it was pretty entertaining. Tulsa 54, Jacksonville State 17. Brin for Tulsa, 424 passing yards and 4 touchdowns in this one. Arkansas 38, Missouri State 27. We talked about this, the whole Bobby Petrino thing. KJ Jefferson was 19 for 31, 385 passing yards, 2 touchdowns. Sanders ran for 167 yards on 22 carries and 1 touchdown. Landers had 123 receiving yards, not too bad for him. Stevens for Arkansas had 82-yard punt return for a touchdown. For Missouri State, Shelley 24 for 43, 357 yards and a touchdown. Whether or not people tease Bobby Petrino, I'm sure we can find stories online, but I never heard nothing. I'm sure they did. Southern Miss beat Northwestern State 64-10. Southern Miss Keys 6 for 9, 192 yards and 3 touchdowns in that one. Southern Miss led this one. Looks like 41-0 at halftime. Jeez. Middle Tennessee 49, Tennessee State 6. Middle Tennessee's Peasant, 3 touchdown runs, including an 85-yard touchdown run for him. Good for him. Ohio State beat up on Toledo 77-21. C.J. Stroud 22 for 27, 367 passing yards, 5 touchdowns in that one. NC State, Texas Tech. NC State wins 27-14. That's the one with the Texas Tech linebacker, I forget his name, had a bad injury. He might be out for the whole season. Larry for the Wolfpack, 14 for 22, 110 passing yards. White for NC State, he had an 84-yard pick 6 in this one. Smith for the Red Raiders, 215 passing yards and a touchdown. Another one that I was wrong about, and I'll admit it, Boston College 38, Maine 17. Boston College just isn't very good this year. Maine's a decent FCS program. I figured they would have the spark to go in there and beat Boston College, but I was wrong. Boston College beat up on them. Jurkovec for Boston College, 25 for 37, 320 yards, 2 touchdowns. Garrow the third, 17 rushes, 78 yards, 2 touchdowns. For Maine, Fagano, 21 for 43, 264 yards and 2 touchdowns in that one. Maine hung in there for a while. It was 28-10 at halftime, and they were behind a little bit, but still, they hung in there for a while. And get this, in the second half, third quarter, Maine outscores Boston College 7-3. Fourth quarter, Boston College outscores Maine 7-0. It's like all the points were scored in the first half. If Maine could have stopped a few of those points, they may have pulled the upset, but they didn't, so they lost. This was a great game. I mean, it really was. Washington 39, Michigan State 28. Washington was great on both sides of the ball. Offense, defense, special teams. I'm not going to say they were just like them, but they had flashes of early 90s and early 2000s. Those 2 times when they were a national powerhouse under Don James and then under Rick Neuheisel. Not exactly like them, but you saw flashes of that. And not only this game, but all the games Washington has played this year. I think they're really going to be good. I think they're going to get back. Still got the Pac-12 schedule. Some of those teams in the Pac-12 are hard as hell to win against, but it's going to be very interesting to see if Washington is back in the national spotlight like they have been for years. They've just kind of fallen off the last few years. That dude last year with Jimmy Lake, that was just a disaster. But then again, every program has a coaching disaster somewhere in their history. I guess he was theirs. So we got that. They got that over with. Michigan State, slow start. But then they started improving, started coming back, but Washington held them off. Penix Jr. for the Huskies, 24 for 40, 397 passing yards and 4 touchdowns. Davis ran for 69 yards and a touchdown. Polk, 6 catches for 153 yards and 3 touchdown catches for Washington. On the other side of the ball, Spartans, Thorne was 30 for 42, 323 yards and 3 touchdowns. Coleman had 9 catches for 116 yards and 2 touchdowns. There's people online, a lot of Michigan State fans saying, we're fake. We shouldn't be ranked. This is all fake. We're going to have a bad year. I don't think Michigan State's going to have a bad year. I think they just ran into a damn good team that's on the rise is what happened. Michigan State played good ball. Like I said, they started off kind of slow in this one, but they came back and made a game out of it. So if you're a Michigan State fan, don't think that way. You'll be okay. Don't worry. Hey, I'm a Michigan State fan too. I root for them, so I'm not worried. Crazy ass game up in Iowa City. First of all, it's crazy because Iowa had some offense. And the second reason it was because the game was delayed 3 times because of weather. Total of 4 hours in delay time. Started at 6:40 p.m., I think it's Central Time. Ended at 1:39 in the morning. So if they have a 2 o'clock cutoff at the bars there in Iowa City, you basically have to run from your seat to wherever the bar is and chug a beer. Man, this is crazy, isn't it? 4-hour delay for weather? Wow. Anyway, Petrus was 14 for 26, 175 yards, 1 touchdown. Oh, by the way, they beat Nevada 27-0. Evans, 36 rushes for 259 yards and a touchdown. And then Regani, 2 catches for 56 yards. Iowa found their offense, and it took a thunderstorm to do it. So, hey, maybe if you're an Iowa fan, you want a thunderstorm every game because they actually played decent. Pitt beat Western Michigan 34-13. Panthers' Yarnell was 9 for 12, 179 yards and a touchdown. See if I can say his name. Abanaconda. 31 rushes for 133 yards and a touchdown. Pretty good. Broncos, Slopek, he only threw for 99 yards. Jefferson, he only rushed for 35 yards. Mupfield for Pitt had a 22-yard pick 6 in this one. Florida barely gets out of it. They beat South Florida 31-28. Richardson was 10 for 18, 112 yards. Johnson Jr., 6 rushes, 103 yards for a touchdown. For South Florida, Bohannon threw for 116 yards. Batty, not too bad a game. 17 carries, 150 yards and a touchdown. Anthony Richardson didn't lose this game, but he also didn't do anything to help them win the game. Florida, Kimber had a 39-yard pick six. And like I said, Florida had sloppy execution, plays. That needs to get better, especially heading into SEC play. Like I think they have Tennessee next week. We mentioned that. So I don't know. I don't know what Florida's going to do. That big one. Who was it? I think it's Paul Feinbaum yesterday said that Florida won the wrong game. They should have lost to Utah and beat Kentucky, and people wouldn't be so worried or on their backs about shit. And it's probably true. They probably shouldn't have beat Utah. Probably should have lost that and won another game. But I don't know. It's interesting to see how Florida's going to do this year. SMU, they give Maryland a game, but they lose. Maryland wins 34-27. Terrapins Tua, 17 for 23, 214 yards, 2 touchdowns. On the other side, SMU's, what'd they say? 29 for 54, 369 yards, 3 touchdowns in that one. SMU led this game at halftime. What was it, by 20 to 17? They led by 3. Actually led into the third quarter because they scored 7 points in the third, and Maryland only scored 3 in the third. But then Maryland came back and outscored SMU in the fourth quarter, 14 to nothing. So SMU almost went up there and pulled the upset. Maryland 3-0 now. SMU's 2-1. Central Florida beat Florida Atlantic 40-14. Florida Atlantic's Perry, 13 for 29, 108 yards on a touchdown. Plumlee for Central Florida, 24 for 33, 335 yards on a touchdown. He also ran for 121 yards and 2 touchdowns in that one. Proud of the Rice Owls here, hometown team. I go to a lot of their games. They beat Louisiana last night, 33-21. Pretty impressive fashion they did it into. McMahon for Rice, 25 for 36, 303 yards and 3 touchdowns. Good for them. And then McCaffrey, 10 catches for 105 yards and 2 touchdowns. Kind of held the Louisiana offense in check. Woolridge only had 76 passing yards. Smith was the leader with 39 rushing yards. Jefferson was the leader with 53 receiving yards. So good for you, Rice Owls. I'll be interested. I'll be at a couple of games here pretty soon. Clemson beat La Tech 48-20. This was actually a 7-point game at halftime until Clemson started pouring it on in the second half. Tigers DJ, 17 for 29, 221 yards, 2 touchdowns. Still taking heat from people across the country. Shipley, 12 catches, 139 or 12 rushes, 139 yards and 2 touchdowns. Williams, 57 receiving yards and a touchdown. McNeil for La Tech, 23 for 42, 311 yards and a touchdown. Another one I was wrong about. Oregon State beat Montana State 68-28. Did not see that happening. I thought Montana State was going to beat them. Montana State's a damn good FCS program. I was wrong again. Nolan for Oregon State, 19 for 25, 276 yards, 4 touchdowns. Mellett for Montana State threw 3 interceptions in this game, but he did throw for 101 yards. Johnson for Montana State had a 98-yard kickoff return for a touchdown. And then Gold for Oregon State had an 80-yard punt return for a touchdown. All 4 quarters, Montana State scored just a touchdown, where Oregon State really racked it up across the board. They scored a touchdown in the first quarter, but then after that, second quarter, they scored 27 points, scored 20 points in the third, and then 14 in the fourth. So they really turned it on there. UTSA, they hung in there with Texas for a while. They actually have the game tied at 17 at halftime, but they end up losing 41-20 to the Longhorns. Card for Texas, 15 for 23, 161 yards and a touchdown. Robinson, 20 rushes for 183 yards and 3 touchdowns. Great game for him. Harris for UTSA, 23 for 34, 222 passing yards. Franklin had 6 catches for 84 yards and a touchdown. Like we said, 17-17 at the half, and then Texas came out and outscored UTSA 24-3 in the second half in that one. New Mexico beat UTEP 27-10. This game here, I was worried about it because I think you all know I'm an Aggie fan. But they pulled it off. They beat Miami 17-9. Very defensive game. Both defenses played great in this one. Aggies had a strong running game. Passing game was okay. Wasn't nothing to write home about. Miami, bad special teams and penalties. Couple of muff punts, penalties, just kept piling up on them. And they never really could get anything going against the Aggie defense. The Aggie defense was just that good. But at the same time, the Miami defense was that good to keep A&M from opening up any. Max Johnson started over Haynes King. Thank God. A lot of us were happy about that. Decent. 10 for 20, 140 yards and a touchdown. Akane, 18 rushes for 88 yards, including a 25-yard touchdown catch. Van Dyke for Miami, 21 for 41, 217 passing yards. Not too bad for him. But, yeah, I'm happy about it. We'll see what happens. But A&M's just got to get a lot better, especially when you get it. I think they got Arkansas next week. I mean, I was worried about this game. I'm worried about next game. I don't know if they can beat Arkansas if they're going to start off that slow. But we'll see. We got a chance with Johnson in there. We'll see what happens. Another one I was wrong about. What do you know? Utah beat San Diego State 35-7. I thought Utah would win, but I really thought that San Diego State would put up more of a fight than they did. Once again, our trend this past Saturday, San Diego State doesn't score their touchdown until the fourth quarter. Utes Rising was 18 for 30, 224 passing yards and 4 touchdowns. Thomas ran for 59 yards on 16 carries and a touchdown. And then Kuthi, 64 receiving yards, 5 catches and a touchdown. DeVell for Utah had 2 touchdown catches. Crum only threw for 53 passing yards. He did throw a touchdown pass, but that wasn't until the fourth quarter. Another one I was wrong about. I mean, there's a bunch of them. USC 45, Fresno State 17. I figured USC would win, but just like the last game, I figured Fresno State would put up more of a fight, but oh well. Trojans Williams was 25 for 37, 284 passing yards, 2 touchdowns, and he also ran for 2 touchdowns. Damn good game for him. Jones, 110 rushing yards on 12 carries for 1 touchdown. Bulldogs Fife had 140 passing yards. Mims had 114 rushing yards in that one. Brooks, 89 receiving yards on 6 catches and had a touchdown in that one. Did not see this one coming. Eastern Michigan 30, Arizona State 21. Beat them at home in Tempe. Sun Devils Jones was 20 for 32, 185 yards, threw a touchdown and ran for a touchdown. Also, Powell for Eastern Michigan only threw for 93 yards. Smith only rushed for 55 yards. And New only had 59 receiving yards. So, Gomez for Eastern Michigan also had 3 field goals. Jackson and Evans rushed for the touchdowns. But first quarter, Eastern Michigan won 10-0. Halftime, 24-14. Then the second half came. Eastern Michigan scored field goal in each quarter, where Arizona State scored the touchdown finally in the fourth quarter, but just wasn't meant to be, and they lost. All right, a couple more here. Another one I was wrong about, but I was close on it. I was very, very close on it. Arizona pulls it out and beats North Dakota State 31-28. De Laura for Arizona, 20 for 28, 229 passing yards, touchdown, and he also ran for a touchdown. Wiley, 51 rushing yards and a touchdown. Miller for the Bison, 10 for 12, 124 yards and a touchdown. Lupke, 18 carries, 115 yards, 2 rushing touchdowns. And he also caught a touchdown pass too. Um, Arizona was 4 for 4 in the red zone. No turnovers, only one penalty. They were superb there. North Dakota State, the reason I thought they would win, they have beaten 6 straight FBS teams in the last 12 years. They've also won 9 of the last 11 FCS national championships. Damn good team. Arizona, let's face it, hasn't been as good last few years as they have been in the past. But I'll tell you what, after they beat North Dakota State, Arizona might be a team to watch this year. They've really improved this year so far. Keep an eye on them. Them, Vanderbilt, Duke, Kansas. Who else do we say? Keep an eye on those teams. If you don't watch their games, just check their score at the end of the day every day and see what's going on. Last but not least, Hawaii has won a game. They beat Duquesne 24-14. Parson for Hawaii, 11 rushes, 52 yards, 2 touchdowns. Pavihi, 50-yard pick 6. Houseman have 2 interceptions for Hawaii. And Hawaii, we could have watched y'all and cheered y'all on, but y'all decided to not put your games on TV and put them on some damn website or app. So none of us could celebrate with you. It's all right. We don't need you anymore. These last 3 weeks, we've had some damn good late night games that have gone late into the night. All right, so that's it. Y'all enjoy y'all's NFL today or whatever you're doing. Enjoy the rest of the weekend. Stay busy so the week goes by fast. We'll be back on Thursday to go over the games for next weekend. We'll see you later.